Thank you all for being here tonight for this performance of SoulSeeker by Vanessa Cruz. This performance is part of Mouthwater Festival, which is this is the third week. So if you haven't been to all 3 weeks, we also have other shows this weekend, 2 more shows, Friday, Saturday, and then another show Sunday, so that's 3 more shows. So we would love to see you there. It's presented by Velocity Dance Center. My name is Shane Donahue. I'm the creative producer of Velocity Dance Center.
My name is Joseph Hernandez, and I'm the communications manager at Velocity Dance Center.
Velocity! We just want to do a few brief say a few brief things before the performance begins. Firstly, I have some notes from our access team. JJ over here and Jay, if you have any access needs, please feel free to go to JJ or Jay. They're incredible. So, and much love. In regards to lighting, there is some flickering of the stage lights throughout the performance. Additionally, if you are seated on the far edges, I'm a flight attendant, far edges of the stage, there are also there's a high likelihood that there are bright pulsating lights that will be directly at these spots in particular. I also have a land acknowledgement for us in the room just to ground us in the soil that this building stands on. Land acknowledgements are used by Native peoples and non-natives to recognize Indigenous peoples who are the original stewards of the lands in which we now live. We, as Mouthwater, as I will speak for on the boards too, as Velocity Dance Center, acknowledge that this building here at On the Boards is part of a settlement on the unceded ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people, and on this land in particular, the Duwamish. We recognize that not all people came to this land for the same reasons or in the same way. Some people came as settlers or the children of settlers. Some people came as immigrants, as refugees of indigenous peoples to these lands and other lands. And we are just so happy to be here with you all watching live experimental art with Mouthwater Festival tonight.
Nice. Great. And I have just a couple of notes from the organizers of the Mouthwater Festival. The Mouthwater Festival is part of a journey to build more space for disabled artists and disabled audiences. This festival is a journey that started with Sarah Barbaric, gathering disabled artists that they love and admire to dream. Now 2 years of touring, meeting, and planning later, we're in the 3rd week of this festival. We also have India Harville here tonight. He's one of our curators.
Woo! Who's also performing tomorrow.
Yes. Kind of battled the condensation.
I know.
They would also like to thank the Mellon Foundation, Beam Foundation, John C. Robinson, and 4Culture for their support.
Yeah, thank you.
And we want to support the longevity of this project for better access in arts and to pay disabled artists to create work. They would like you to donate to Mouthwater through Velocity Dance Center. We are their fiscal sponsor, so you can donate to them through our website.
Yeah, find one of us and we'll talk to you about it.
Yes. And a little bit about Vanessa Hernandez Cruz. She, her, ella is an independent and interdisciplinary Chicana disabled dance artist. She recently premiered her new experimental contemporary dance solo titled SoulSeeker for Los Angeles contemporary exhibition show Abundance. Also slated for fall of 2024, Vanessa will premiere an evening length at Highway's performance space titled Void Decryption Error. We have some one-sheets outside about this performance if you're interested in more information, or also how to support this project. Over the past few years, Vanessa's work has been shown nationally and internationally. She is currently the recipient of the 2023 California Arts Council, the Center for Cultural Power Artist Disruptor Award. This year, she has performed an excerpt from Jérôme Bell's Gala and Red Cat, performed with Good Troublemakers, and has finished her Peter Performance Space residency with a showing of a durational performance called Cyber Realms. So now, I hope you held on to all of that information. So we wish you all the best the next half an hour. I will see you very soon. Thanks. Well, welcome to the Artist Talk after that fabulous performance. I want to thank you again one more time. I kept a little rhinestone for myself.
Oh, yeah. Feel free to take rhinestones.
Yeah, this is the third time now I've seen this, and it's been so cool to watch it like progress in the last few days and sort of like watch the moments come together and then change as it progresses through the few days we've been able to like hang out together. I think I first want to ask you like, how are you feeling? How does what's this experience been like for you?
Hi, everyone. I am very loopy. So I'll be very giggly today. Just acknowledging that right now. Neurospicy moment, of course. So first and foremost.
Oh yeah, sorry, we should
yes, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you everyone who came out tonight and watched this performance supporting the Mouthwater Festival. It's truly an honor to be in this space amongst all of you, getting to share my work with you and help you in ways to witness disabled artistry, and more of it, please. So before I answer your question, I'm just gonna do a little quick intro, even though you've probably read all about me. My name is Vanessa Hernandez Cruz, pronouns she, her, ella. My visual description, I'm a Mexican-American woman. I currently have my dark hair pulled back in a half pony. I'm wearing glasses, wearing super galaxy-like makeup. I'm wearing a black dress, sparkly top, with this beautiful beaded necklace that is from Mexico. And I have leg braces. This is my walker. Her name's Pluto. Uses any pronouns. I am originally from the lands of Dongba and Quiche territory, also known as Los Angeles, California, and honored to be here in Squamish territory, also known as Seattle. And to answer your question, I am really loopy in a good way. This is a good thing. I feel really happy. I'm honored to be here. I am tired. But yeah, I'm just really happy to be here.
Wonderful. The piece that you saw tonight premiered in LA, and so this is sort of like another iteration of it. And I thought maybe you could tell us a little bit about how it's shifted from its premiere into now, the kind of similarities, the differences as this process has kind of trickled into new spaces.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, so I got commissioned by LACE, known as Los Angeles Contemporary Exhibition. They curated a beautiful performing arts series that expanded for 3 days with multiple artists. Their theme was abundance and what it means to have a marginalized body. So they had all types of beautiful humans performing. And so for that performance, I wanted to create something that represented almost like a love letter to myself as someone who is navigating multiple identities in the society that often isn't always a peaceful experience being on Earth. And so this piece morphed into the odyssey of like the trajectory of our soul and like where it goes, and making sure to find magic within life, even though navigating the system of oppression, this just kind of became a vessel for me to live in the moment and be present.
Nice. In kind of like reading more about your work and kind of talking to people that have known you for a long time, I've kind of learned that this piece holds a sort of special place in your aesthetic universe, and I maybe wanted to know more about the creation of this piece and how it kind of fits into your canon of work, like how it feels as opposed to like the other things you've made.
Yeah, absolutely. So my dance practice is primarily solo work. I like to label it as experimental, contemporary. Contemporary meaning it honors my dance background. I am a classically trained dancer, but gearing away from the actual aesthetics of contemporary dance, more so experimental and honoring my crit body. So a lot of my work has now included visual artwork and manipulating that in various ways. Each piece has different visual art pieces that represent the theme. They are created all at the same time, choreographically, as well as collaborating with musicians to make the sound score. So it all happens all at once, and it's a very exciting process every time I enter a new work. This piece is definitely more on the softer side of my intensities. A lot of my works are very intense. So this one feels a little bit more ethereal versus some of the other ones, but still love my other ones. Yeah.
I mean, I love intensity. I think there's also like there's a certain amount of intensity with this as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There was a moment tonight with the kind of like ribbon structures that you like kind of held it closer to yourself. That was neat. I liked that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to. Oh, we talked a lot about improvisation.
Oh yes.
And how improvisation in your practice sort of like what's it called when something helps each other when they support each other.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. Yeah. So kind of going back to what I was talking about, being classically trained. I got my AA at Santa Monica College, transferred over to Cal State Long Beach, got my dance degree there. And throughout my times in both institutions, I found myself in a weird crossroads in terms of like what I'm doing to my body as a disabled person, having to constantly navigate assimilating my body to a very able-bodied environment, especially I was the only one with a very visible disability. And so having to navigate the super capitalistic ways of the way the dance field works did more so harm to my body and mind. Although I am thankful for some of the trainings, I do carry right now with me the teachings of anatomy, safe ways to carry my body when I'm doing structured improv. And so just kind of going into the structured improv component. So I have been practicing structured improv in my dance pieces. So this allows me throughout in real time when I'm performing to honor what I need at that very moment when I'm performing. So for example, if my legs are really sore, I'm going to go down to the floor. But it will be done in such a way that you won't know it's because my legs are hurting. It is in honoring, of course, the work and the theme, but I'm really present in my body throughout the entire performance. And it's also this kind of permission consent with myself of being able to say, oh, I'm going to go into a section where there's a lot of grief. Do I want to go deeply into grief, or do I want to just channel sadness today? Just really kind of that internal dialogue is happening in real time when I'm performing.
Nice. I wanted to also ask a little bit about your process, and as much as now that I've seen the piece a few times, I've seen some of the images, kind of like the ones that come back, the ones that seem thematic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask how you arrive at these different images. Like there's one with you like resting on Pluto before the very end. There's another one like kind of like wrapped up in the ribbons, and also in the very beginning. Like so, like how does the organization of these images, like when you kind of start out, like how does that go?
Beautiful. And so the beautiful thing about structured improv is that I have markers throughout the piece where I know I'm like, oh, this part, I know I'm going to be covered in a veil for a very long time. And so I know where I need to start removing the veil. Musically, there's music cues for me. Thematically, within the music and the choreographic structure, I know like, oh, this is my time to start prepping to go into that intense role with the green light. And then I know music really is kind of a cue for me, and light sometimes too. Shout out to Anna. Sorry. So I know that towards the end, I'm feeling the stars falling, like raining down stars. That's the image I have in my head. I just have like these little markers throughout the work that allows me to keep the world building alive.
Mm-hmm. And you're able to work on new sound for this as well.
Yes, I have the privilege to work with Ilya Simfocat. Look him up, phenomenal musician. based in Russia. We DM'd each other on Instagram. We're like, hey, like your music. Interested in DMing. Also, like, I don't know, because sometimes, when you DM musicians that have like a huge following, are they gonna respond? So the whole thing. But yeah, no, and Ilya has been such a gem throughout the process early in the year, creating this sound score, and it's so beautiful. So shout out to Ilya. I don't know where I was going.
Do you imagine kind of further iterations of this piece, or is there something like about this idea that you feel is left unexplored, or like the corners of it that you'd like to investigate more?
Yeah, absolutely. I think more so. Well, also like this is true for a lot of my works. Like I feel every time I perform it, it's always different, which I love. I never feel like I'm gonna grow tired of it, because it's like there's this looseness within the choreography that I'm like, oh, I can do this now, or I can change it up completely, which is really exciting for me. And so I'm open to the possibility of this becoming a duet in the near future, as well as hopefully performing with Ilya Simfocat in person. They do a lot of experimental live performances with other dancers. So I know we kind of discussed that earlier this year, like how can we make that happen? Because I think it'll be a really cool immersive experience as well. Yeah.
Nice. I also want to take a second to talk about this new piece that you have, the void decryption error, which I stole one of the pages from outside. Tell us a little bit about your sort of ideations for it. I know that India, who is also here, is going to be a part of it, so very exciting.
Yeah. Okay. Switching gears. I had the wonderful opportunity to get a Disruptor Award from the CAC, California Arts Council. It has a long title. I'm not going to say the whole thing. I'll probably mess it up. And so within this award, I pitched this idea of generating a piece that will live stream BIPOC disabled dancers on stage, specifically those who never had the privilege to be on a stage because of societal barriers, disability, etc. And so I have 4 amazing, beautiful dance artists who will be performing with me on stage November 1st and 2nd for the world premiere Rain Glass Vortex. And this work specifically is about this concept of finding liberation within digital spaces, because a lot of our disabled community can only have community online because of a lot of barriers. And I've always asked, where are they? Where are they? And so I really want to hopefully expand that later in the future with more dancers and bring more dancers through that way. And so this evening length, I'm also performing Exhale Static, Inhale Fumes. That's in similar theme of this idea of finding community in digital spaces. And I performed that at the Red Cat last year for their Now Festival. I'm just so excited that I get to bring 4 queer BIPOC disabled artists on stage who that's a lie, but who haven't had enough access to performing. If y'all are interested in going, I know y'all in Seattle, but but if you know anyone in LA, please promote this show. I really would love to share this soft premiere and this new modality of performing with everyone. And if you would like to support even more, we appreciate any donations to help make this work sustainable for us. And there's other ways to support as well, just sharing.
Wonderful. Then if you're okay with that, I'm going to open it up to questions from our lovely audience. Not everyone at once, yes.
How did you get into dance?
Oh, I love that question. Oh, okay. Okay, gotta dig back to my little brain cells. I fell in love with dance, I want to say in middle school. lie, elementary school. I saw a dance performance and I was like, oh, I really want to do that. And it was a belly dance piece too, which is like, okay. And I was like, oh, I really want to do that. It seems cool to be on stage. I think I was really interested on the stage component versus like the dancing, but it just kind of, happened. But then I didn't really pursue it because just inaccessibility in schools. A lot of the dance programs were after school and they didn't have accessible buses for me to like stay after school, so I had to leave right on time. That's a whole thing, but anyway. And so I pursued it a little bit more in high school. I had a wonderful dance teacher, Emily Quist. Shout out to her, phenomenal. I'm happy that my first dance teacher was very open to having me, and I know that's not an experience for a lot of disabled people. And so all my 4 years I did a lot of concert dance, all 4 years actually, yeah. But then I was too scared to actually pursue it as a major. So I decided to go into medicine. I like science girly here. But then I found myself really going back to dance. After my classes, I'd find a dance club, did some things there, and I was like, okay, you know what, let me just take a risk. So I decided to switch over I went to Santa Monica College, got my AA there, rest is history. Yeah. Thank you for that question.
It really felt like you and Pluto were dancing as a duet up there. It was like, oh, this is a very pas de deux sort of feel to you and Pluto doing that. And it was just like, is that your experience when you're dancing with Pluto?
Yeah, I love that question. Yeah, Pluto, okay, try not to make these answers too long. I remember when I was training dance, my dance teachers would always say, oh, you should use your walker more. She didn't have a name yet. But the thing is, in a normative dance class, there's no time for me to explore with Pluto. I was more using Pluto as like a stability. There may be moments where I was able to, but not so much. But I think once I started to let go of like taking dance classes, I started like figuring out how can I use Pluto. Because I think one of the things I was worried about is that it looks like tricks. Because I feel like it takes away from me, like the world building aspects of my work. And so I want to make sure like this isn't just a trick and it looks cool. Like there's a reason behind why I'm lifting up Pluto. There's a reason why we're dragging her around the space. Like there's a reason behind it. And I think I had to shift that kind of mentality and somehow click along the way. I don't remember when they clicked, but it just kind of happened. But yeah, love that question.
I loved hearing that one of the visuals you have of stars falling. I'd love to hear what are some of the other visuals in your mind through the
Oh, throughout the work? The beginning, I am thinking about ripping through the universe and entering Earth. And I'm exploring Earth throughout the piece, throughout the very beginning. And then they're burlap laces, but I call them threads of the universe. And so I think of them as attachments from the universe that come within me. And so just kind of dancing with them. But then as the time goes on, I'm feeling all the groundedness. And sometimes groundedness, at least for me, feels burdensome. And so there's this shift of like, oh, I have to carry humanness and like what that means in this body. And so I kind of get lost within the threads because I'm not sure how to navigate this humanness. And then I grapple with it throughout, and then as like almost like a revelation kind of emerges towards the end of like, this is all part of your experience as a soul, and it's beautiful. And it's okay to grapple with those emotions and humanness. And I just really like the part where I'm reaching up. It's like the music just sounds like stars are just falling magically, and just feels really nice. Yeah, those are some of the things I was thinking about throughout the work. Yeah.
I noticed that you have writing out in the lobby. Do you often pair writing with your performances?
Yeah, I do. I love that question. Yeah, aside from, for the Abundance performance in LA, I had these limited edition little zines, and I wrote a poem, a long poem that's actually just an excerpt of it, in relation to this work. It's interesting because I feel like my other works, there's a lot of text heavy in the music. This is just purely ambient. It was really hard not to tell the musician to, can you put my voice in here? But I really wanted to experiment with what that's like as an artist. I'm like, let me just, So in some ways that was just kind of honoring that kind of aspect I wanted to do, but use it in a different media kind of way. Yeah.
Can we find the longer piece of it?
It might be released. It might be released.
I was not paid to ask that.
Oh, you're so funny. Yeah.
I wondered if you maybe wanted to say anything about the importance of sparkles in your work. They seem to be kind of all over
Love
that.
First and foremost, I'm a glitter girly. Shoes. This was asked for me yesterday as well. I love this question. If I don't have any kind of glitter in my works, check in on me. Just check it on me. It's just a thing for me. My brain really loves glitter. I just love it.
It's so fun to watch you move with the glitter.
Like
all of the sparkles that happen during the piece. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. I always have to kind of step back and is it too much? Is it taking away? It's just kind of like the artistic little questions that you ask yourself. Is it too much? Just right?
Never too much.
Never too much in there.
Why doesn't Pluto have any glitter?
We were thinking about doing a costume for Pluto. She usually does have a costume. But because there was just a lot of interweaving, just for kind of safety issues, not safety issues, but safety consciousness, I just didn't want to get too stuck. So I'm already getting stuck in a lot of ways. So not this iteration, but hopefully in another iteration where we can probably think a little bit more about what that would look like if Pluto has a little something. But she would definitely have something sparkly. Yeah. Hi.
Hi, thank you again. I feel like there's unique ways that you communicate with each different part of your body. And I was noticing in particular your hands at the beginning of the piece when they reached out in either direction, and of course when you were holding the light, but then also with your fingers, and there's this magnificent expressiveness. I wondered, how does that feel to you, or how do you feel that you communicate through your different parts of your body?
Yeah, this is where I love that question because I'm trying to figure out how to articulate that and also kind of teach it to others. AKA I do a workshop called Cyber Realms, and I kind of am investigating that. I kind of call it choreographing energy, like really being this idea of presence, which is why I love structured improv, because I can do that without feeling I'm gonna miss the next part of the movement, because it's really structured. And so this allows me to kind of channel breath and this idea of how am I going to reach energetically And it's not always through muscle, it's like a whole mind, body, spirit thing that's happening. So it feels very good in my body when I'm like projecting that kind of energy. Of course, when my body allows it, because again, access. Sometimes I need to take care of myself a little bit more before, So I choose when and where I want to use my energy a little bit more so than other parts in the work. Thank you.
Anybody else? Maybe a last question?
How did Pluto reveal her name to you?
Pluto. Hello, Pluto. I like galaxies. Follow me on Instagram, Galaxies Dance, literally. I don't know, I really, I think Pluto it's not a planet anymore. But I just want to honor Pluto, the planet Pluto. To me, it's still a planet. So I feel like Pluto just feels right for this color too. It's nice purple. Yeah. I don't have a direct answer, but it just kind of just emerged, Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you for coming and sharing this time, and thank you so much again. It was really such a treat. And it's been such a wonderful few weeks, and we hope to see you at some more events. And we're just so full of gratitude. So, see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.